Daredevil episode 11, The Path of the Righteous. A crazy ending to this episode. I did not expect them to actually kill off Wesley. And it really sucks because I love his character. I loved his character from the very first episode because he was the guy who really stood by Fisk. He was the one who, he'd come in, he'd be really calm about things, and he would, kind of deal with stuff if he needed to, like in this episode. Like, he was always really calm. He never had a weapon or anything. But if he needed to take care of something, then he would go at you. He'd kidnap you from your house, and he'd pull a gun on you and threaten you. And I did not expect things to go the way they did at the end of this episode. It was very shocking to me to see him actually get killed off. And like I said, it really sucks because I did love his character. So, it kind of sucks more than anything because, we found out that Karen was going to get out of that situation alive. No matter what she chose, she would have chosen to do it and then tried to figure something out. But the way they did that was very surprising. It was very well done, and I guess that's kind of why they did it that way, because sort of the typical thing would be she'd be threatened to the extent where everyone else would get killed and then she would be killed too. So she would accept this offer but try to fix things herself, and instead of doing that, they kind of just made it where she got right out of it. And I don't know, they could easily be found out again because obviously Wesley took the call from Fisk's mother, and if she happens to remember, I mean, she remembered that time, but it could already be gone. Like, it could be something that's, it's out of her mind and it's gone forever now. But it could come back. He could, especially now that he can't get a hold of Wesley, he's obviously going to find out that he died. But he can't get a hold of him. He's going to call his mother back, and he's going to, possibly, if she does remember, figure out that Karen was there and that Ben was there as well. And then he's going to realize that Karen killed Wesley too, so he lost him for sure. He didn't lose Vanessa in this episode, and that was also a big part of it. Like, is she gonna live? Is she gonna die? But she did survive, and so he's able to kind of move on. But he lost someone else that was very close to him, probably the second most or third most important person to him. And they had, I think that's kind of why they had that little moment early on in this episode where Fisk didn't say it because he just kind of couldn't get the words out, but he looked at Ben and he was gonna say something close to, I really appreciate having you as a friend, or I appreciate everything you do for me. But he stopped and it was just like, thank you. But it was obvious what he was feeling in that moment. Like, he knows that Wesley, although he is his employee, he is actually a friend. He does give a crap. He tries and does everything he can to make things simple for Fisk and make things kind of go smoothly. And one thing that came up in this episode, I was actually wondering, was it Wesley that actually was trying to kill him at the party or something? Was he the one that poisoned everybody? Because he was on a phone call with someone, and we still don't really know who that was. But it was when Fisk was coming out of the room, and he was just talking, and it was like something about handling it, and he was like, well, I'll just call you back. And that was pretty much it. And I thought we were going to see him talk to whoever that was. And it could be nothing, but it still could have been whoever was on the other end of that phone call we get to see in the next episode, or, next two episodes. But I was very surprised to see him go. Obviously, there's a lot of other important stuff that happened, but after that ending, it's all I can think about. I did not see that coming. I didn't think either of them were gonna die. I thought Karen was gonna die initially because she had already been, like, in the very first episode, she was the issue that they had that kind of kickstarted everything. And I thought with her being an issue a second time, that was more than enough for Wesley to deal with. He's like, all right, he was the one that put the idea out there in the first place to kill her off when she kind of got the case blown wide open. And I thought, well, she's looking into things. She's just going to cause another scandal for Fisk. And, we don't need that again, especially from someone who's already dealt with a scandal from us. That's the last thing we need. I was so sure he wasn't going to bother with anything, and he was just going to kind of talk to her and then, just kill her in the end. But, him offering a position, or, well, not really a position. When he said that, I thought he meant actually working for them. But him kind of offering her this job to say, like, hey, you do this, and we'll kind of give you some money, kind of let you go, or do whatever afterwards, I guess. I was very surprised by that too, and it was it's just an interesting moment. I wasn't sure what was going to happen and how things were going to take place, but I was so shocked at the end there. And when he's mentioned that he, like not putting a loaded gun on the table, I was wondering like if she would pull the trigger and actually try to shoot him and realize that it was fake, and then she might freak out or something, because who knows, he could have had like some actual fighting skills or something to take her down. But it's actually a full gun, and so she hits him in the arm. I wasn't sure where things were going to go from there. I thought she was going to freak out and just take off then, but she just kept pulling the trigger, and he was definitely dead. Like, he didn't have that fancy little bullet proof vest on or any of that crap. He's dead unless he had some amazingly placed little blood packs exploding or something. He's actually dead and gone. So I don't know how things are going to play out, especially with Fisk, and he's dealing with this stuff with Vanessa, and now Wesley's gone, and he obviously got a call from his mother, which means something, because we haven't, obviously that wouldn't happen all the time. So I'm sure he's gonna have these three things kind of rotating around him all at one time. And then he obviously has problem 4 and 5, like, who is it that tried to kill me, and then how am I going to deal with the man in the mask still. So just more and more issues get added onto him, and it seems like they're doing that on purpose to kind of drive him towards being just Kingpin, like just being this villain who kind of lets go of the past and lets go of this sort of righteous side of him, where he's like, I want to do things the nice way, and some stuff has to be bad, but we can still do good. And he's just going to be this evil guy who kills and does whatever because he's losing people or having giant issues come straight at him left and right from all different angles. So I think they're doing a good job with sort of adding these issues on over and over throughout these episodes, and him having to kind of deal with one big thing after another. Gal coming after him when she went to his house, that freaked him out, and then this episode dealing with the aftermath of Vanessa being poisoned. Even though she survived, they mentioned possible complications, so who knows where that's going to lead to. And then obviously Wesley being gone, and possibly the stuff that happened with his mother, if she does remember when he decides to call her. But it was an amazing twist at the end of the episode. It was a great the entire section with Fisk was really fun to watch too, because they had the stuff with Leland early on, and him talking about how things have to get back to business. Like, he has to get back to business while there's a business to get back to, and them trying to figure out, like, is it Gal? And I was trying to figure out, like, was it Leland? Was it Wesley when he had that random phone call? And just trying to figure out, like, who is it that came after them? I still think at this point, it technically could be anyone. Like, I mean, we don't know who Wesley was talking to. It could have been, sort of a fourth or fifth party, depending on how you look at it. I'm not sure if Leland and Gal were really working together. I don't know if it was Gal by herself. It could be Leland by himself. He did mention that one of Gal's men was looking at him really funny, and he kind of blew past it, like, just funny, I don't know, and so he tried to kind of move past it. But with those people being blind, and I know she's Chinese and not Japanese, so it's totally different from whoever, like, Stick was dealing with and stuff. But maybe some of those skills do kind of cross over. She has all these people working for her who are 100% blind. Maybe they do have a lot of similar skills, and they do all have like the burned eyes and stuff. We saw that when they were working. So maybe they are a lot like Matt. Like, maybe they can actually see. They might not have like martial arts skills or anything like that, but he mentioned this guy was looking at him weird. So maybe it was Leland by himself, and this guy knew that he was lying. He just wasn't going to say it in front of her, because he would obviously have to make something up, and it's just like, well, I'll just let him tell his lies and crap, and then I'll just tell him when he's gone, and then we'll figure out, because she's the boss, obviously, I'll figure out what she wants to do. So it's still kind of up in the air. It could have been Wesley, whoever he was talking to. It could be Leland. It could be Gal. And then, obviously the stuff with Wesley being dead, and Karen and Ben visiting Fisk's mother. There's just a lot of crap for him to deal with that seems to be leading him down a much darker path. Like, kind of going full circle, admittedly. Kind of leading him back to where he kind of killed his father, and leaving him right there kind of in that mentality throughout the rest of the series. So I'm not sure if that's how they're going to play it or what, but I can't wait to see how things play out with him having lost Wesley. And if he gets another second in command, I know Francis was like the third in command. They always say his name. They would always be like, thank you, Francis. It wasn't just like thank you or anything. They'd always say thank you, Francis. And I really caught that in this episode. But he might end up becoming the second in command. He could get kind of a bumped up role or whatever. But I don't know how things are gonna continue on for Fisk now that he's lost his right hand man, who we don't know how long they've known each other, but it seems like it would have to be for a while if he trusts Wesley, and he doesn't even give people his name, so certain things like that kind of show how much of an impact this character is gonna have, or his death is gonna have on Fisk. So I definitely can't wait to see that, and the stuff with Ben and Karen should be interesting as well. Like, she got kidnapped. She has to deal with the fact that she killed Wesley. She should be fine. She took the gun with her and she kind of wiped off the table and stuff. Even though she sort of grabbed the end of the side of the table when she leaned over to pick her things up. I doubt they'll play that route anyway. But, she's dealing with that now, and she has to figure out, what the heck am I going to do? Who did he tell? She knows that he didn't tell Fisk, and he didn't tell anyone, but she still has to wonder, does anyone else know? Like, I know Fisk doesn't know, but is there someone else out there that does have this information? If he got this information from Fisk's mother, what if she, obviously calls her son? What if she calls her son instead of Wesley? Or, there's a lot of different things that she doesn't know about, and even we don't know about. Like I said, his mother could easily just call him a second time, and even though she was told it would be taken care of, Kingpin could also, Fisk could also call her. So there's a lot of different things that could go down. And then we have Ben, who kind of seemed like he wasn't going to do the case or write the story, but he's looking into the information. He gets the picture. He finds the vote for Bill Fisk board put up in the window and stuff. So he's following these lines. He's figuring out, who Fisk's father really is, what happened to him, what the story is currently, and what really happened, and having that information, and then kind of putting that together with what Fisk's mother said about how he killed him and everything. So there's a lot of info, and I was really surprised. Like, a lot of people, I was kind of on Karen's side when she mentioned to everybody, like, his mother was supposed to be dead, but she's not dead. Like, why would he do something like that if he didn't need to do it? And like, I understand like what Ben was saying with bringing his mother out and things like that. Like, oh, I was sad and my father drank a lot and he would beat my mother. He would force me to do insane things, and I freaked out, so I had to do that to protect my mother and myself. And she comes out and all that. I completely understand, but it would put him in the light, especially the thing about her supposedly being dead for 2 extra years. Like 2 years ago, but she's still alive and under a different name. He'd have to come up with some reason as to why that is. Like, why would he need to do that, in a public sense? What's the point? No one knows you. No one gives a crap until, like, just now. So why is it that you have it where your mother died 2 years ago and you have her under a false name? So I was kind of on her side. Like, I admittedly, it is only one little thing, and obviously they did come after her in this episode because of that little thing, going and getting this information. So it is kind of the dangerous stuff. Like, it's a little piece of info, but like, with it being so small, it's not really worth the risk. The risk versus reward factor of that is definitely not high enough. But I did get how Karen was like, how is everyone just downplaying the fact that he kind of faked his own mother's death for 2 years, and now she's alive and has like a totally fake name and all this stuff. I understood that as well. So I was kind of on her side and kind of on everyone else's side too. But I was mostly just like, no one even seemed to, look at the fact that there's at least something. Like, Ben did a little because he at least talked about it. Everyone else, Matt and Foggy are kind of dealing with their issues with each other, so they're kind of just like whatever, and just like depressed and trying to figure each other out. And then she comes with that, and it's just like, this guy's too big, so they're still dealing with their crap, so they barely even talk to her about it. But it was definitely fun, and she now has this totally new path after killing Wesley, and she has this info and all the worrying that she's gonna have to do, even though Fisk doesn't know yet. She doesn't know who else knows. Just because Fisk doesn't know doesn't mean there isn't someone else. So I'm not sure how it's gonna play out, but this is definitely a great episode. Very surprising ending, of course. The stuff, we also got Daredevil going to the factory. Matt went there to get the sort of bulletproof vest and stuff. And I've seen the pictures. I haven't seen like the full picture because I've been trying not to see it. But obviously with it being Netflix, the pictures are out there. They're all over the place. So it's in the final episode. I think it's the final. I actually don't know that. I'm just assuming because the last episode is called Daredevil. I think that's when he's gonna actually get the suit. But we got to see him go to this guy, and this guy seemed like he had super strength when he like picked him up off the ground, and he threw like the little saw, and he like stuck into the wall really hard. And it's just crazy. That was a cool little fight. And he had to fight with all these crazy injuries and stuff. And I noticed like when he was being sewn up by Claire early on, I was thinking like, oh man, the makeup just looked really good because it looked like it was really his stomach and stuff. And I've seen that before, but I guess because she was actually sticking a needle through it and sewing it, and they focused on that so much, it just really stood out how good the makeup was for like all his cuts and stuff like that. So he goes to this guy, and the guy was very interesting. I didn't expect his character to be like that. The first thing I noticed when he came in, he had a bunch of Yoo-Hoo chocolate milk. Like there was a huge, like I don't know if anyone noticed, but he had like a stack of it still in the package. Like there were like 2 or 3 full cases of it next to the refrigerator that he got one out of. So it was like, this guy drinks a lot of Yoo-Hoo, and it just seemed really funny. He just like, here's a giant thing of Yoo-Hoo that he has. So that was the first thing I noticed. And then when he gets beat up, he starts crying and stuff, and he's freaking out over Betsy, who honestly I was so sure he was gonna say is like my cat or my dog. I'm still not sure if Betsy is a person or an animal, because just the way his character is kind of acting, like he freaked out, he started crying and stuff. It could also be a therapist. That's what I was thinking, because the guy obviously needs one. So it's like, it's either a therapist, it's actually someone that he's related to or something like that, or with, or it's a pet. It's a cat or a dog or something. It could be anything. He might have like a little fluffy bunny and it's his favorite. I don't know. The guy was just really silly and very different than what I expected. He was mad, and they had like a crazy fight, and then he lost and he started crying. It was like, this is totally different than what I was expecting. So Daredevil, Matt was able to talk to him, and so he's gonna get this suit. Like I said, we probably won't get to see it. Unfortunately, it'll be like in the last episode, which really sucks. But this was definitely a great episode, a great surprise. Sucks to lose a character that I think was so great, even if he was a villain, because sometimes you want the villains to live too, because they're so freaking sweet. And I honestly, I like Wesley more than I like Fisk at this point. I just thought he was really cool. Like he was like the middleman, but he was really smart about stuff, and so is Fisk. Like they're both like evil geniuses, admittedly, but it was just like he was the right hand man who didn't need to do the dirty work. Like neither of them, if anything, Fisk really did the dirty work when he got kind of out of control and went rage mode on people, and then Wesley was the one who was like, he would talk to people, he'd get irritated, but he would be calm about stuff, he'd deal with things, and if something came up like in this episode, he'd get a gun from somebody else and he would deal with it himself. He wouldn't let anyone know. He would just be like, I'm going to take care of this myself. You guys take care of him. Do anything and everything he says. Watch him. I'm going to handle this without even wasting his time and giving him something else to worry about. And it just made, that's what made me love his character. So it really does suck that he got killed off in this. Like, if it was season 2, it would still suck no matter when. But, with it happening all in one season, it's like, man, it kind of makes me wish this was on regular TV so that they could kind of draw stuff out a little bit. Like, this was one of those moments where it's like, I do kind of wish they could draw it out a little, but they're hitting us hard and fast, because it's like, here's season 1, and this show is meant to be the start of a whole, generation of Netflix Marvel series for the, street level defenders and stuff. So they got to give it to us hard and fast and give us like some really insane moments, and this was definitely one of them. But I love the episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about it, though, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, I have to ask, what did you guys think of Wesley's death? And also, what did you guys think of his character in general? Obviously, I spoke to how much I loved his character. I'm pretty sure I did earlier on in some of my other reviews as well. Just how much I like his character. Some of the funny moments he had, like when Gal mentioned that he didn't need to speak for Fisk anymore, and then Fisk started speaking Chinese, and he just got irritated with Gal, like, nah, I gotta leave the room. And he just had a funny, irritated look on his face. But I want to know what you guys thought about his character and, his death at the end of this episode. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.